Well, hi, you join me for another of my videos, and we're all prepared as normal. Got my notes and my camera, and my old camera as well, and I haven't had to come very far this time. In fact, on my doorstep, because this one is about Waddesdon Manor. Our story starts in 1874 when Baron Ferdinand, a rich man and a banker, bought a big piece of land just outside Waddesdon. He then decided that he'd build his stately home. It took 9 years to build Waddesdon Manor. Baron Ferdinand had decided that he wanted the manor house, the stately home, built in the style of a French castle, chateau, like you see down the Loire Valley, and his wish was granted. It truly was a magnificent building, and Queen Victoria came on a royal visit in 1890. She was apparently really impressed with the place. Sadly though, just about 16 years after he'd ordered it built, Baron Ferdinand died. Someone else was to inherit this amazing building, but I'll tell you more about the history after we've had a look inside. Let's go inside. So I'm about to go into the dining room now that looks absolutely stunning, as you'll see from these pictures. Just amazing. The table laid out looks fantastic. Queen Victoria visited Waddesdon Manor, and one of the things she particularly liked were the chandeliers, which were among the first in Britain to use electricity rather than candles, and she thought this was pretty amazing. And as you can see, they're still using electricity today, and they're still amazing. This is what's called an automaton clockwork thing. Unfortunately, it's not going at the moment. The paintings are obviously stunning, but it's quite hard to take them because I can't step back enough to get them all in, but there are many, many of them. The problem is, I think I was a bit spoilt by Blenheim Palace. It's not quite as magnificent as Blenheim, but it's still pretty stunning, really. I must say the old Baron liked a clock. There's lots and lots of clocks. Here's one of the most spectacular ones though. Oh, and there of course we have an armchair. Looks like one of those you can push back to watch TV. For reasons I don't understand, they seem to have writing desks everywhere. I've seen about 9 or 10, I think. Obviously they didn't really fancy email. This is a painting of a race meeting, the July meeting in Goodwood, which still happens to this day. I should know, really should know. And here's a picture of the current Baron, stuck on the wall. I think he's got jeans on, but anyway. And lo and behold, another writing desk. Jesus, it's about 19. So here's a much more modern dining room, which is interesting to see, and a huge bottle of wine on the table. After that, I think they'd be under the table, but anyway, let's move on. Well, I'm going to stop the tour now and go back outside because it's getting a little bit samey. I mean, once you've seen one lot of magnificence. You've seen it all really, so we'll pop outside now. Well, amazing to see inside. So a little bit more history. In 1898, Baron Ferdinand, the man who'd built Waddesdon Manor, died, and it passed by inheritance to his sister Alice Rothschild, and it's been in the Rothschild family ever since. The Rothschilds are well known as a very rich family with banking roots and even members of parliament in their family. And they had quite an effect on the village where I lived, because they built many cottages and houses for the people who worked on the estate here at Waddesdon Manor. And I can show you some of the little cottages and houses that they built for their workers, which still exist in my village today. We'll have a little look at those. So here I am in my village of Waddesdon, and we've left the manor for just a bit because I wanted to show you how the history of Waddesdon Manor has spilled over, if you like, into where I live. It's actually quite noisy at this time, although it's a lovely little village. It's on a main road and we're sort of in rush hour, so it's the only part I don't like. At this time of day it gets really busy, as you can see, with traffic streaming through, although I live off the main road, so it doesn't affect me so much. So let's take a little walk up the road to the first building we're going to have a look at that has got definite and distinct ties to Waddesdon Manor and the Rothschild family, who took over Waddesdon Manor. And before we get there, I'll just put up on screen their coat of arms, the family coat of arms. They were a great banking family, and their coat of arms shows a shield and 5 arrows pointing up, and the arrows represent the sons being sent out to 5 financial capitals in Europe to establish banking houses. And I can't remember where they all were now. London, Paris, Rome, and 2 more. So that's what the arrows represent, 5 of them on the coat of arms. So it doesn't take me very long to find the first building that's linked with Waddesdon Manor. You remember the manor was started in 1874. This building was built soon afterwards. Nowadays it's a very fine hotel, but in the 1870s it was built for one specific purpose: to house all the architects and craftsmen and surveyors and supervisors building Waddesdon Manor. So anyone involved with the building of it, at least the more skillful workers, were housed in this magnificent building. So it shows you what a big project building Waddesdon Manor was. They built a lovely building just so the people who were building it could live in it. And if you wanted any more proof, there's that Rothschild coat of arms outside the hotel. So the Rothschild family were major benefactors to the residents of Waddesdon. And yes, they were a very wealthy family, but the amount they contributed to the village, huge. Here I'm standing outside the town hall, another Rothschild gift to the village, and a little bit further down the road these almshouses, houses for the poor to live in, again a Rothschild donation to the village of Waddesdon. But by far my favourite are the cottages which they built for the ordinary workers who worked on Waddesdon Manor. And if you remember, the manor was finished in about 1888. So what we're looking for are cottages in the village that are dated just after that, around the time that workers would have gone to work on the estate. And it's not hard at all to find them. So I'm just going to take a little stroll up my street now, and it won't take me long at all to find some of these Rothschild cottages. They're very charming, built for the workers in the days when they were building the manor. And there's that coat of arms on these lovely old cottages. I'm sure you can just see the coat of arms there, and the cottage is absolutely lovely as well. Modernised a bit, of course, but built originally for the workers of Waddesdon Manor. All along my street, an abundance of cottages built by the Rothschilds for their workers. I don't know what kind of employer they were, whether they were good, whether they charged lots of rent or whatever, but I do know that at one time over half the residents of this village worked on the Waddesdon Manor estate, so it was a huge part of the village of Waddesdon. That's a look inside the village. Now let's go back to the manor. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video, pretty much on home territory. That was my look at Waddesdon Manor. We'll bring you another one soon.